So I finally started playing Infamous Second Son, and I have to say, first and foremost, it's actually an incredibly fun game, and it's better than I was expecting. I wasn't expecting too much from Infamous Second Son, because it's a game that came out at the very beginning of this generation, and it's also a game that I just really haven't paid too much attention to. I'm not very familiar with the Infamous series in general. A lot of people have told me that I should go back to the PS3 and play some of the older games. I've also seen a lot of people say that Second Son is their least favorite game of the series, so I don't know if that's ever going to happen. All I know is that right now I am enjoying what I've been playing so far of Infamous Second Son. It's really interesting to me that this is the same team that is currently developing Ghost of Tsushima. I have to say, I say that because what I'm playing right now and what I'm seeing from Ghost of Tsushima, they look so incredibly different from each other in a good way, though, you know. But speaking to the story of Infamous Second Son so far, I have to say, first and foremost, I have not completed it yet. I have streamed a pretty significant portion of myself playing the game, and based off of what people have told me, I am getting pretty close to the end. I think I have a couple more hours of gameplay left if I'm just doing the mainline story missions, but I still wanted to give my impressions, or like my initial thoughts, or my initial review, I guess, before I finish it, because once I do finish the game, I'm probably going to go out of my way to platinum it. But when it comes to the story, I have to say the most interesting aspect by far is the fact that you can choose your path. You can choose a good path, you can choose a bad path, you can become good or evil, and you can actually make certain decisions throughout your gameplay, and some are much more significant than others, that will ultimately determine your path, and it seems like it will change the story to a certain extent. So right off the bat, it has me very interested in kind of seeing the type of moral decisions I can make. In the beginning, it seems like there are some really important ones, well, not just the beginning, but mainly when you come across certain characters, you can kind of choose whether or not you want to influence them in a bad way and kind of push them to be villains and just do things that are not right, but if you want, you can choose to try to help them redeem themselves, be better people, and you just make choices like that. And I just find that incredibly interesting because you don't really see that too often in games, at least not games that I've played, and it's just nice to see that it actually seems like it's going to have a major effect on the story. It does actually have an effect on the gameplay as well, because when it comes to the upgrade system, there's actually certain upgrades that are specifically locked for if you choose to go the good or evil path. So I just really like the way that Sucker Punch kind of weaves that into the game itself. I think it's done really well. They also make it so that when you are playing the game, doing little things such as if you see citizens that are kind of knocked down and hurt, you can either decide to, I think, end them if you want, or you can help them, and based on what you choose to do, you get good or bad karma. The same thing goes for enemies in the game. If they choose to surrender, you can choose to end them, or you can choose to just subdue them. So I just really like that dynamic right off the bat, and the fact that it plays such a vital role within the story, and the, you know, how Delsin's character plays out. So speaking to the characters in the story, I like them so far. Delsin Rowe is a character, not the most interesting, but also not the worst. He just feels like a character. You know what I mean? He's not, I don't think he's going to be the most memorable for me, but I think that his personality definitely fits the tone of the game, which is he's kind of somewhat of a loose cannon in a way, and I think the dynamic, and I think that this is the aspect of the story I like the best, the dynamic between him and his brother Reggie, as well as the dynamic between him and Augustine. And Augustine is the main antagonist of the game so far, and she definitely seems like a not so great person, and it's going to be interesting to see how it all wraps up once I get to the end of the game. It's also interesting to see the world that's been created, you know, with the DUP, and how there's these people that are called conduits, and they have these powers, and they're kind of looked at as just like terrible menaces to society, and they need to be locked up and everything. And that's where the whole dynamic of, you can try to do the right thing and be the bigger person, or you can try to, give into that and basically the way I see it, the reason why I chose to go the good path my first time around playing this is because seeing the type of character that Augustine is and the antagonist, it kind of feels like if I were to take the evil path, I'm going to end up becoming just like her. But I'm really interested to see, again, just like how this ultimately feeds into the story. The other characters like Fetch and how you encounter people with different powers, very interesting. I think Fetch was really interesting to me because once I got her powers, I was really surprised at just how different they felt from the smoke powers. And so that kind of just leads into the gameplay. The story itself, it is interesting, and it is keeping me engaged. But I have to say, this game, the thing that really sticks out to me most is definitely the actual gameplay itself, which is really nice because it feels like a game where when I'm playing it, I'm more focused on that. And just like kind of learning about these new powers. You start off with smoke, and I think that Sucker Punch did a really good job in kind of slowly introducing it to you. In fact, every time you get new powers, you have to find these little I forget what they're called, but there's these little like stations that you go to where you break them open and you get a new power, and it teaches you how to use it, and it gives you an opportunity to use it. So it kind of just teaches you in that way, and it doesn't just kind of throw you in with everything at once. I like the way they do that. I like the upgrade system. I like the upgrade paths. It seems like there is a lot to choose from in terms of how you want to upgrade Delsin and what powers you want to upgrade. Each set of powers has its own upgrades. I think I just recently got video powers, which are very interesting, and it makes me, curious to see what other powers I'm going to get. I like the smoke powers, but once I got the neon power, I thought that was actually really awesome, and I think so far between the smoke power, neon, and the video, I'm liking the neon the best. I just like the way it looks. That's another thing about this game too that I haven't mentioned up until this point, is how good the game actually looks. For a game that came out, I believe it was in 2014, graphically, it did get a PS4 Pro enhancement, I believe, or I think the PS4 Pro just naturally makes the game look better, just kind of like bumps it up. I'm not sure, but either way, I know when you go into the settings, you can choose between a resolution and a frame rate mode, and I've tried both out, and when you play it on resolution, it definitely looks really good. The lighting's good. I like the way Seattle looks. I like the open world. I think they did a really good job with that. I think the only downside, I would say, the only negative to the open world is kind of the NPCs. A lot of them look way too similar, and there's just areas where there's literally like nobody. But I guess maybe to an extent that could be kind of realistic, but it just makes me feel a little bit like taken out of the game. But at the same time, I really like the way they made Seattle look. I like the detail in the game. There's moments where I just kind of spend time roaming around the streets and just appreciating the detail that Sucker Punch put into the game. I always love that with these open world games. But having that 60 FPS option, if I want to play it that way on the Pro, is awesome. It definitely enhances the game. And just the way that the powers look, the effects and everything, especially again with the neon, I was just kind of like blown away by how awesome it looks. When you run out of your powers and you have to go drain it, especially when you're draining it from the neon signs, it is one of the coolest looking things I've seen in a game in a long time. So I really got to give Sucker Punch credit there for making these powers very cool, very unique, and again, it makes me really excited to see what it's going to be like to play as Delsin once I have all of these different powers fully upgraded, what it's going to be like when I choose to take the evil path the second time around, and what different unlocks and different abilities I'm going to have by choosing to take the not so good side of things. So the other thing too I want to touch on is how much extra side content there seems to be, which I haven't dived into too much. I'm kind of saving that for after I beat the main game, but it looks like there's a pretty decent amount to do within the open world. It seems like there's 2 sections that you can go to, and within each section there's different areas you have to clear out, and they have little different side activities. One of the coolest ones I've seen so far is the tag spots, where you actually have to use the controller, and they encourage you to hold it vertically, so it feels like you're, I guess, kind of holding like a spray paint can, which is just a pretty cool thing that they added to the game. And it shows that because I guess it was a launch PS4 title, they were trying to utilize all of the different features of the DualShock 4 where they could, and honestly I think that they succeeded. There's a lot of other little things that they use the DualShock 4 touchpad for and whatnot, And I think that overall Sucker Punch has done a really good job with Infamous Second Son. My initial impressions are, I don't know if it's necessarily like a masterpiece. You can definitely tell it was a launch title, and there's some areas of the game that make me feel like, Sucker Punch hasn't really achieved its full potential, and that's why when I look at Ghost of Tsushima, it looks like they're really trying to ramp things up and really take things to the next level. But, if Infamous Second Son is anything to go by, I have a lot of confidence in them, because Infamous Second Son so far is a really, really fun game to play, and that's what it really all comes down to. I really love the traversal, the verticality of the game, abilities. The combat itself is solid. It's not the best in the world. I mean, there's melee, which is fine, and I like how with each different power the melee kind of changes a little bit. It becomes a little bit less powerful or a little bit more powerful. Each power feels unique so far, and I just really overall am having a really good time with Infamous Second Son. And as a game that wasn't really on my radar, and a lot of you guys recommended that I try it out, letting me know it's a really good game and not to pass it up, I'm glad I didn't. And again, to end this video, it just makes me that much more excited to see what Sucker Punch is going to be able to do with Ghost of Tsushima. At the very least, I know that Ghost of Tsushima is going to be a very fun game. But from everything I'm seeing, it looks like they're going to try to take it to the next level. But that's going to do it for the video, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Leave the video a like if you did enjoy it. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.